automatically in the sub-page form.
The sub-page form?
Yes.
The line number to come automatically. Or the line or
yes. Remember yesterday we saw line number coming 10,000, 20,000.
The auto link. Was it auto?
Okay, it has something like auto. We can go with that. The auto split key. Okay,
yeah,
but
then you have to make the last key in an integer.
Yes, yes. Then that is very good. You have to make the last field in the primary line to be an integer. All right. But if you read the PDF, everything is indicated there plus some examples. So today we are going to have an introduction to the cow language. So all along we've been designing tables, setting properties, using the properties that Dynamics Nav ships with. So today we are going to start writing some cal code, and I'll open my development environment here. So we said that tables have triggers, pages have triggers, even code units have triggers. So let me just try to connect here to the database. Oh, I selected the wrong server. So, if you recall very well, we said that who knows the purpose of the code unit?
The code unit, it shows the code that is supposed to perform a task.
Yes, in code units, that's where we normally write our code, especially code that is performing a big routine task. We normally put it in the code unit. So today, we shall come back to reports later on. We might look at tables, pages. Later on, after knowing how to write some code, we shall come back to reports. Today, we are going to focus on the code units. So the code unit has, if I click on new, okay, to create a new code unit, the code unit has two triggers. We have the documentation trigger, as you can see, and the on-run trigger. We can also have functional triggers, meaning that in this code unit, we shall write some triggers, we shall write some functions that will be triggered when the function is called, maybe from a table or from a page. So the documentation trigger, this is where we write documentation. So if you remember very well, when we are still at campus, they said that it is good practice to document your code, isn't it? So each time you are writing a code unit that writes achieves something, it is always good to document what that code unit is going to do. So in such cases, you put everything in the documentation code unit. So the convention that we normally follow here is that we put our names, probably the date when you are writing this, and then what the code unit is going to do. So I can say that this code unit maybe manages posting of student registration. But this is not what we are going to do. Let me say this is but when we start writing code in real life, here, that's where we put the documentation of our code unit. So to save this code unit, you click File, Save, or you can press Ctrl S. You give it the same ID, give it an ID, then you give it a name. Let me call it my test code unit. So I press OK. So once I save this, if I go back to my code units, I can see I've created my code unit. I can also put a what? A version. Now, when you run your code unit, it triggers the on run trigger, okay? So another thing you should know that all triggers start with on validate, on lookup, on run, on modify, on insert, all those are triggers. So in code units, we have the on run trigger, and this is the trigger that is called each time this code unit is, once you run the code unit, this will be the trigger that will be called. Now we can also have functional triggers. We can also have functional triggers. So the function triggers, you declare functions yourself. So if I come to view and I go to cal globals, then I have a section for variables, text constants, and functions. So if I click on functions, I can come here and I put a function trigger. For instance, I can say maybe sum. This will be summing up some values, okay? So after adding that, I can press escape to go back, and right here, you can see that I have the sum trigger. So unlike other programming languages, some of the challenges that new programmers face once they come to Cal is that they want to pass parameters in this function. So you find somebody trying to click here to add a what? A parameter, if a function is taking in some parameters. Now in nav, we don't add parameters from here. That can be done in R when we are doing business. But for this, if you want to find the sum of two numbers, I can go to view, cal globals, then go back to my function. Now functions have what? Properties. So if I come here under the properties, these are the properties of the function. I have a local, and a function can be public and can also be local. So I think you know the difference between public and local. When it is local, it can only be called within this code unit, okay? I can call it either from the run trigger. Of course, in the documentation trigger, we don't put their code. This trigger is skipped while during execution. So I can, but if I come here and I make this function global by turning local to yes, oh, sorry, it was no. So once it is not means that it is public. If I want to make it local, I turn it to what? To yes. I turn it to yes. Okay. So how do I pass parameters here? If I go to view cal globals and functions, I have here a tab for locals. So if I click on this, I have a section of parameters. I can say X is an integer. Then another parameter is Y, is also an what? An integer. I can also specify a return value that this will return what? It will return integers. So after that, if I go back to my function, I can see it is taking in two parameters, X, which is an integer, and Y, which is also an integer. And this is the what? The return type is also returning integers. So in my function here, we shall go on building this function later on, and we shall see the output. So that's how you access the functions, and that's how you add the functions. Now, maybe I would have written on the board here, but people that side won't be in position to see. So I'll just open up this notepad. So nav has what we call data types. So I know you've encountered these data types in other programming languages. We have numerical data types. Numeric data types, these we can have things like integers, big int, we can have decimal, we can have an option. So options are also, the way nav stores option, if I have an option string, I know in the first PDF, we had an exercise where we set an option string to. I want to see whether people try it out. Option string to GL account, item, and others. So now when nav is storing this, it will store these as numbers. In the PDF, we shall find out whether options start from 0 or 1. So if this is GL, you may find that you will store it as a 1. In the second option, it will store it as a 2. So that makes the option string to also be a numeric data type. Oh, so sorry, the option string start with 0. So meaning that the GL account will be 0, item will be 1, and if you have more options, they will be added in that order. Then we also have another kind of data type, which are the strings, the string data type. Here we have things like text, okay? We have text, text is a string. We have code and others, as we shall see. So an example of a text, if I come here and I do view cal globals, I can create a variable from here. For example, I know each time we start a new programming language, there's that variable called hello world, yeah? So I will make this a text, and then the world, I'll make it a code. So there, I said the types we have. We have numeric data types, but in numeric data types, we have integers, big int, decimals, and others. Then in the string data type, string is like a category of it. In the string, we have code, text, and others. So here, hello world, I've made it a text, and I can specify the length of this text. Maybe it will take up to 30. And then code, a word, I've also specified it as a text, and it will take 10. So that's how we declare variables. If I want a boolean, I can call it, maybe it's editable. Then I put, this is a what? A boolean. Yes, a boolean can be true or false. So that is also a string data type. Other data types that we have, maybe just before going to others, we have hello and world. So what's the difference between text and code? Could you, if you're not talking, you may want to first mute your microphone so that we don't get feedback. All right, thank you. Now, I was talking about the difference between code and text. So for code, if I come here, and I say, maybe okay, let me just go back to cal globals, and I just say that this is a text string, and this is a code string. So these are the variable names, okay? Now, if I come back here, I can now assign these variables values. We shall see that how we can assign variables values. But to declare a variable, you go to view cal globals. Now, there are two cases. We have view cal globals and also have view cal what? Locals. What is the difference between the two? If I declare a variable as a global variable, it means I can access the variable in all the what? In all the functions that I have in this code unit or in a given object. But if I declare a variable as a cal local, for example, if I am in the sum function and I do view cal locals, the variables I declare here in the local section will only be accessed within this what? This sum function. So I know you've encountered this in other programming languages. and they don't change much here. So I'll save this, and this is my code unit. Let me design it again. We also have date and time variables. For example, if I want to create a date variable, I can come here to call robots and I say maybe date of birth. Then I can give it a date. Okay. I can also have date time, date and time of birth. I can also make it date and what? Date and time. I also have other variables like the time. These ones, you will try them in the demos I'll give you. And we also have the, okay, the time, the date time is already there. For now, let me just say the time is, the variable name is now. So those are the dates, our variables.
Emmanuel,
Yes, please.
if data type is the data type of the variable, what does subtype mean?
Okay, that is a very good question. Now, what is subtype? To answer that, I'm going to go to another type of variable and called another type of data type that we can, another type of data that we can have in CAR. That is what we call the complex data types. We have what we call the complex data types. Now, the complex data types, for example, we can reference a record in the system. For example, in the previous assignments, we had the student what? The student table. So if I want to access the student table, I will come here and I say, this is student, that type is a record. And now under data type, that's where I specify the what? Yes, the table, the actual table for this variable. So our table, if I click on this lookup, it will show me all the tables I have. So under the subtype, I can say this is now the student. So meaning that I can access my students through this variable called student. So if I want to access customers, I can also create a variable here called customer, which is a record, and then the subtype is customer. Or if you've prompted the tables, like me, I know the customer table is table 18. You can simply type 18 there and the name will come there. So that is the function of the subtype. And it works hand in hand with the complex data types. Other complex data types that we have, we can also have a page. Maybe this is page customer. And then here I can type page. And here I can look for the page. I know the customer card is page 21. Is it? Yes. So that will be also a complex data type. We shall see how you can access fields in these records. Another data type that you can have is you can also have a report. A report, you can reference report in your code, maybe customer list. This is a report, and here you specify the report. We don't have a report called customer list, but if I click up here, it will show me the reports I have, and I can specify which report I want to use. So those are some of the complex data types. And the subtype now references the record or the page or the report that you are trying to access through the variables. Other complex data types, we can have the record ID, the key reference, the outstream, the big int. And now these ones you will read the documentation and you see how they are being used. Yes? Yes. If somebody decided is asking, can I reference code itself? Yes, you can reference code. For instance, if I have this code unit, if I have a batch of code here that sums up in a given function, I can call this code down by calling this function name. I can reference the code here by calling the function name. So this code must be enclosed within a function if you want to reference it. So here under data types, I can create a data type that references a code unit. And okay, the spelling is not correct. And I can type here my code unit, my test code. Then the variable name here, I can call it my test. Then this my test, I can call it my test.sum to get the sum. So that is the only way I can have my code referenced. We shall look at examples later on. Now, so under the data types, we also have complex data types. And under the complex data types, we have things like records, we have page, we have report and others. So I'll give you documentation that will explain all these. Now let us go to identifiers. What is an identifier? And what is a variable? How do you spell identifiers? Identity. Like that. Okay. These are some of the words that I really write. Yeah. We have variables and we have the syntax. What is an identifier? Okay, what is a variable? We've looked at variables already.
Variable is like a placeholder for information in storage.
Yes. Okay. I'll give you that as homework to find out the difference between an identifier and a variable. But what you see here are the variables that we've declared. But I think an identifier could be the name of that variable. For example, text string is like the identifier. But I'll leave it to you to make more research to see that. So under variables, we have user-defined variables and system variables. So in one of the demos that we had, I used the system variable. We have system variables and user-defined variables. So the user-defined variables are these ones that we've declared here. But the system variables, there are some cases where you will see rec. That is a system variable. It accesses the current record. Then there's another one that I used, who remembers it? Xrec. That is also a system variable. If you want to access a previous record, you can use the Xrec. And if you want to access a field, you follow by a dot, then a field name, Xrec dot student number. So this will access the previous variable, the previous record that was in that field called student number. So how do we initialize variables? Variable initialization. So to initialize a variable, let me hope I have spelled this right. Initializing variables. So how do we initialize? So initialize, you say, I know in other programming languages you do like that, isn't it? X is equal to 1. And I know if you're used to other programming languages, it will take you a few hours to adjust. Here, when we're initializing, we put, yes, so that's how we initialize a variable. You say X full colon is equal to 1. So that means I've initialized my variable. If I do X is equal to this, you can see, let me even talk about this. You can see that error. And we have two types of errors. We have runtime error and compile time error. So which error is this? This is compile time, yeah? So as I try to compare, the system is showing me the error, but there are some cases whereby the system will not show you an error at compile time. For instance, if I come here to my cal globals, and I can see my text string can support up to what? Let me say up to 10 characters, okay? If I save this, I still have this compile time. And I say, my variable was what? And I said text string is equal to, how do we assign text string? We normally put them in what? In single quotes. This is a very long text string. I think these are more than 10 characters. So if I save, what do you expect? Will it save or no? It won't. Somebody is saying it won't. But fortunately, or unfortunately, it will save. But now it will get me when I'm running. When somebody is executing this, it will now start complaining that the value of this text string must be 10, blah, blah, blah. You will see those errors. So those are runtime errors. They are not compile time errors. So here it won't complain. But once we start executing this code, that's when it will complain. So variable initialization for numeric values, this is how you initialize them. For string values, you do this. You must put them in single quotes. And then for Boolean, what do you expect for Boolean? For example, is editable is a Boolean. That Boolean can be either true or false. So if I put here is editable, the only thing I don't need to put in, this will make it a string. So here I can say, so that's how I do my Boolean. But as default, Booleans are set to false. So if I don't set this to any value, it will default to false. If I set it to true, then it will change from false to true. How do I initialize dates? Maybe before we proceed, let me just try to introduce another concept, and that is the field menu, okay? So right now, I was going this side, cal globals, then copy a variable, and come back here, then type it. But for your scenarios, if you're using 2018, it has IntelliSense. For it, as you type, it will show you the variable name. But now for these earlier versions, you can use this field menu. So if I click on field menu, is it field menu? No, it is not field menu. It is the cal symbol menu. So I can either click on it or I can press F5. So if I click on it, I'm in position to see my what? My variable. So I can simply come here and I say maybe date of birth. So how do we initialize a date of birth? Now this is very important. Let me say I was born on the 25th of December. Should I mention the year? 1993. So here, if I want this to be a date, I have to add a D. Okay, I have to add a D. That will make it a what? A date. Please don't do. If you do something like this, the system will not understand the system because it may think that this is a division. We're trying to divide. Or if I put a minus, it will think I'm subtracting. So if you want to initialize dates, I'm seeing somebody raising a hand. Yes, Ronald. You are muted.
Open your dev environment. Yeah. Why isn't everyone asking why you began with 25/12/1993 and not 12/25/1993?
Yes, I have some sharp students here. They've already given me a hint. They're saying because my computer takes is set to this, to month, day, and year. So here I can, for dates, I put a what? A day. Now I want somebody to guess if I'm initializing time. How will I do that?
What happens? What happens if you deploy this system on somebody's server whose date format is different?
I will throw the question to these people because me I know the answer, but I also want to see.
I think there is a function to read the system date.
Sorry?
Date brackets. That's all.
Sorry, we didn't hear you very well.
Because if you had coded the date, in case the formats are not the same, it will crash.
Yes, that is very true. It will show an error, but I think I just wanted to show you how we initialize dates. But we shall also look at date functions later on, whereby we can have these dates dynamically set using the different date functions we have. No. Okay, we shall see here. Eh? You look at your date format, and then you try out doing 12, 25, 1993. You try out this, yeah? Actually, what do you see? It is not a valid date because it is referencing my what? My computer. So if I save this, yeah? If I save what I had, 25, 13, 1993, hey, if I save it like this, and I send to another computer, whose time is 12 to 5, 1993, then this object here will compare and I will be in position to send. But those people won't be in position to run. It will show them a runtime error that the date is not what? Is not valid. But there are functions that we can use to do this. However, for now, the main concept that I wanted to indicate is that this is how we initialize dates, and you must have a D there. If you don't put a D, it will take it as an integer. There are some cases whereby you may need to check whether somebody has not specified the date of birth. So in such cases, you put, if date of birth is what? I had pressed O, eh? If date of birth is 0D, so this means that it is undefined date. In other words, if that date of birth field is blank, then don't do anything. So this is so if I put like this, now what did we say about strings? So yes, strings are written in those single quotes. So if I say that if my date is blank and I do it like that, the system will think that this is a what? This is a string. So that's why it is complaining that type conversion is not possible between this and this because it thinks that this is a string. So that's why for date initializations, you use what? 0D. I don't know why I write O. Somebody's asking what if I put 10D? What do you think happens? Is 10D a date? There is an error in the constant. So the system does not understand this. Undefined date is 0D. If you want to specify a date, you have to, for example, today is 23rd of that 2020. But if I want to make this dynamic, I can simply say the date of birth is today. So that will default to today's what? Today's date. But here the main concept is that I wanted to highlight is that for dates, you must put a D if you want to initialize a date. Then for time, somebody to tell me, so I'll press F5, I'm pressing F5, and I have, this was my time variable. If I want to do undefined time, somebody to guess that. 0? 0s. Somebody is saying 0s. Why s? Seconds. No, that is wrong. They said there are no wrong answers, but that one I can confidently say that is wrong. So it will be 0. Mohammed, 0 what? I'm seeing your microphone is
0T.
unmuted. 0 what?
T.
0T. Okay, so if I save this, oh, I didn't. You can see that I didn't terminate the other side, yeah? The last one, even if I don't terminate, but let me also terminate it. So it has compiled. So that's how we do that. We also have date time. If I go to view cal globals, I have date time. So how do I initialize date time? I will leave it. I want you to tell me the answer. Date time of birth. How? If I want undefined date, should we try dt? Should we try this and see? It has passed. Okay, it is 0 what? 0 dt. So those are some of the date functions. Those are some of the ways that we initialize dates. Okay, so for the options, I don't know whether to declare an option. I know we had an example for this. I can have an option called color option. Then if I want, did you see what I know this was already in the demos I gave you to do. So that's why I'm not explaining. So if I come here and I go to properties, I'm seeing Rocky's hand raised. I don't know whether, okay. So here under the properties, I can define an option what? String. So how many colors I can, if I put blank, it means that the first option will be blank. In some cases, we find that, for example, when you're on the sales line, there is a blank one, then item, then JIRA count, and so on. So I can leave that blank. Then I can say blue. What is your favorite color? Red. People power. Then if we have movement, if we have DP, and so on. So that's how you do option strings. And if I come now to how do I initialize option strings? I call the color, then I put what? That will be to initialize color to what? To blue. Alternatively, remember I said that options are, it said that they are integers. What happens if I do something like that? Color is equal to 3. It has saved. But what color is that? Let us first go back to our cal globals. Colors, this, we have blue, red, yellow, green. So what color is that? Somebody is saying yellow. There's something that you are missing. I don't know whether it is visible, but remember I left a space there. So this will be 0. Let us just try to message this message just to verify. Message color, or I can say message. The selected color is %1. And then in other programming languages, you know those place orders. Yeah? In C we had what? %S for string. Then also had %F for floats. Then %. Yes. So here you just put %1. If you want to reference another variable, the selected color, and maybe the selected color, maybe, and editability. This may not make sense, but I'm trying to just explain something. Color and editability is %1 and %2. Then here I specify the color is in the color variable. I put color, and then the attribute is in which variable is editable, okay? Is editable. So I close this and I terminate. So if I save, it has saved. If I run my code unit, I expect to see that message. So we said number three was yellow. So let us see whether it will show yellow. Who knows why it is not running? Who can guess why it is not running? Yes, we have not called sum. We have not called sum. I've created this function called sum, but I'm not calling it anywhere. And I told you for code units, which trigger is being called each time a code unit is executed? The on run. So I'll just come here. Now sum is returning an integer. So I'm going to first remove this so that I can message, because to complain about the return type. So for now, I'm going to first erase my return type, make it blank. Okay, so that sum does not return anything. I'm going to save this. So now if I come here and I just call my sum takes in two parameters. Let me just pass those parameters, although I'm not summing anything. So I've saved. If you don't pass parameters, what do you owe? If you pass minimum parameter, you still do what? Complain that this function is blah blah minimum parameter this. So for this, I'm going to do that, save. And then if I run again, if I run again, I'm calling my sum. So I expect now, do you remember what we said about that? This is a runtime error. The length of the string is 31, but it must not be less or equal to 10. So in some scenarios, you may want to handle such errors. I can reduce the string, or just for the interest of time, let me hit on one of the string variables. I can come here and I use the copy string, okay? We have functions. I'm going to talk about the copy string and the max length. These are string functions. I don't know whether it is max length, but we shall see. So if I come here and I click on F5, then I can go to, I want to access my functions. I can say my text string will take a maximum of 10. Maybe for now, I will look at these string functions later on. For now, let me just reduce this to something less than 10 so that I can finish this. If I come again and I run, so I no longer have the runtime error. And now it is telling me the selected color and ability is 0. Then there is yes. But remember, I set my variable to what? To 3. So I think you know why it is now saying that it is 0, based on the arrangement. So the key thing to notice is that options start with integer 0, isn't it? They start with 0. So now on our assignment that we are developing, that is the student card, yeah? the assignment that we are developing, I want you to, you can just take note of these fields. Let us come up with more fields to add on a student. Do you think we need the date of birth? So I want you to add a field for date of birth. I want you to add last modified by, date and time, last, what should we call it? Last date modified, okay? Last date modified, and that should be the current date when somebody modifies. I've talked about that. You can initialize that variable to what? To today. And where will we put that code? On which trigger of the table? No, on validate won't work because we're not going to validate that. That field should be uneditable. We are going to put that code on the modify because we want the last date modified, isn't it? So on the table, under the on modify trigger, I want you to put on this table, you put a new field code, last date modified, and you initialize it, meaning that if I change this to Y, I should have my last date modified here, stamped automatically. Okay? Actually, to make it more appealing, I want last date and time modified. So in other words, the field type will be date and time. Then on modify trigger, you put that initialization. Then I also want you to put a Boolean. Boolean, what should we say? A student can be male or female. We are going to use option. So I want you to put an option field for male or female on this student card. And then we also, I need another example of Boolean. Which Boolean can we put? Yes, page, should we say page? which field can we add there for Boolean? Day stroke evening? That is option. Okay, which Boolean? Should we use paid? Whereby if it is ticked, that means the person has paid fees. If it is not, so we shall add that that Boolean as well. And then, yeah, those are the things that I want you to. Yes, can you make that dynamic also? Whereby if you have a balance, paid is ticked automatically. Will you be, but even if you don't do that, yeah? For now, first leave it. I don't want to make things complicated. Let us just take it simple. Just add that Boolean. So we've seen how we can assign statements. So this is an assignment, and in a programming language, this is a statement. This is a what? A statement. This is also another statement. Then in programming, we know that a statement is a set of instructions. So this is instructing this to be this. This is how we normally message when you are developing at times. You may want to message to see what value do I have here? Have I passed the correct value? So we normally use this message function just to message. Or if a given transaction has been executed very well, you can also message to that person that maybe fees have been processed successfully, something like that. So you can also use that and the message function. But we shall have another lesson where we shall now be looking at the functions. So we also say that functions can return values. And right now I know how you can return the values. So in this demo, in another exercise, I want you to create a code unit. I want you to write functions that return some of the numbers, that another function that can subtract. And then here on the on run, I want you to message all those functions. So you will send me that code unit as txt for me to review. So I want you to write functions that can do the sum, that can do addition, that can do division, and that can do multiplication. You can pass as many parameters as you want, but they must be at least 2 parameters. And they must return, if I'm summing, you know, I can sum integers, I can sum decimals. So if I'm dividing, you know, if I divide and I get a point, what should be the return time? Should it be decimal? Or should it be integer? Those are some of the things I want to look for. So that is part of the assignment that we will do. And you will share with me the objects, both in TXT and in .fob. So we've seen how you can assign. We've seen how you can terminate. Then Nav also does some automatic conversions. For example, a text can be converted to a code. So if I come here to Cal Globals, I can assign a text to a code that would work. I can come here and I say text string, or I can say text code, which is a code is equal to text what? String. So that assignment, you have defined an unknown variable. How did we call it? Code string, yeah? So this was code string is equal to text string. So I can do such assignments because these are all strings, eh? So even for numbers and decimals, I can do that, but you should know, if can a decimal hold an integer, then can an integer hold a decimal? So you will try out those scenarios and see how you can do that. But what I can tell you is that Nav will do the conversion itself. So if I message here, if I message my my code string, I can simply do code string. If I message my code string, what do you expect? What is the difference between text and code? What I've realized that code Nav normally makes it uppercase. You see this string? Let me also message string is %1. Then I can say code is %2. Okay. Then I say, what is my string? Text string. And what is my code? Code string. I don't need now. I'll just press F4 to delete these others. Okay, case doesn't, you can do whatever you want, yeah? That is not sensitive. You can do whatever you want. It will still remain a message. You don't need to do anything. You can do it and see. Even for the variables, you can do that. The system will know that you are referencing that. So it is not case sensitive. So here, somewhere to tell me what should we expect. String is, this is, then code is, this is. Because here I'm assigning this to this. But what will be the difference? This will be in capital letters because it is a code. So if I come and I run this, I need to, my license allows only one user at a time. Let me just, yet I've signed out. So I don't know why that session is still saved, but I would forcefully stop it by restarting the what? The service. So as it is restarting, I'm going to run that and I will see it. So we've seen how you can display functions, variables. You use the what? the curl symbol menu. Let me run this again. Why is it not running? Oh, it is already running. Eh? Just need to be a little bit patient. Now I don't know whether I've closed everything. Okay, we shall see that later on. Now, in the PDF, which PDF? That is PDF 4. I'm getting an error there. What did I miss out? Design. So this space, eh? So you saw the space and you wanted me to first experience the error so that you can tell me, because before even I went there, it told me that there is a space. Okay. Let me just run this again. And the code is in capital letters. Now, we are on PDF number 4. So I want you to try out demo 5. There is a demo on page 5. Then there is another demo on page 10. You can just take note of these pages. Then there is a demo to set options. It is on page 10 still. I also want you to try out. Then there is a demo on page 11, demonstrating runtime and compile time error. You also try out that demo. Then let me talk about expressions now. Now expressions, for example, if I have my x is equal to 1, actually I don't need that. I can simply say that I can declare a variable here and I call it, let me just go back to my functions. My function is returning, an integer, and I can give it a name. This I can call it total. So if I come back here, I'll just get rid of all these. Let me just select everything, delete, yes. Then here I can say that the total is equal, that's how we assign, yeah? Is equal to x plus what? Plus y. So that is an expression. Then here I can exit. In other program languages, you write what? Return to something like that. Yeah? But here, instead of writing that, we say exit. So that will return the total. So if I come here and I message, I can simply message. Given message normally messages a string, but if I want to message something that is not a string, I format it. Yeah, I add that thing called format. So this will help me because here I'm expecting a number. Okay, so if I'm messaging something which is not a string, I can put format, or I can use the other method that I used before. I can say message the sum is %1. Okay, then my function is sum 56, 60. That can also work. Let me just get rid of this. That can also work. So the sum is %1, and then I pass my function calls there. Or you can first put this in a variable. I can first put this in a variable called maybe total, or I can call it summation Is that word there? Then I call it integer. Then here I can say this is my summation, and it will be equal to sum. I put the values there. Okay. And after that, instead of calling the function here, I can simply say summation. So you've seen these things in other languages, isn't it? These are just easy things. So if I run this, I don't know why it is not running. Do I need first close? So I will have the sum is 094. Is that true? Computers hardly make mistakes. So I think that is the sum. Here, what I wanted to do that this is an expression, okay? An expression has what we call terms. This is a term and this is a term. Okay? This is the entire thing is an expression, and these are terms. So I want you to try out this. I want you to try who can guess what are these? What do we call this plus? It is an operator. It is an operator. Eh? So I want you to try. We have plus, we have minus, we have shift 8. That is a star. What does it stand for? Multiplication. Then we have division. Okay. Those are some of the operators that we can have. Then we have things like div. And we also have mod. Okay. We have div and what? What is the difference between div? That's how we comment out code. What is the difference between div and mod? If I say maybe 17, div 5. What do you expect to be the answer?
32.
I will just message that. If I have 17 div 5, I said I can put a format and that this is going to be. I'm getting a lot of feedback from that side. So somebody is saying that here we expect 3. We shall see. Why 3? Without the remainder. So I can also have, let me just message format 17 mod 5. What do I expect there? 2. Okay. Let me run this and I see. Sorry, did we get that? So that is the div and the mod. So there are cases whereby you may need to use that. There is a system I designed for New Vision, whereby newspapers are packed in given packages. So they wanted to have a report that they will put on the packaging, on the packaging that these papers are maybe this is the second package, but we have 5 packages. For example, if you have 100 copies of newspapers, but you are packing them in multiples of 10 or on multiples of 20. So they wanted me to come up with a report that can show that this is the second package, this is the third package, this is the fourth package. So in cases where I have maybe 110, it means that the last package will have 10 copies. So I was forced to use this the div and the mod to get the remainder that I will have. So these functions will be useful. So it is very important that you know how to use them, and scenarios will come where you need to use such functions. So Another thing that we have not. Okay, not. So this mainly negates. For example, we had a variable called is editable. Okay. So if I say not editable, if I come here and I create another variable called editable, this is a Boolean, and then I say editable is equal to not editable. Does that make sense? This must not be. Oh, okay. I was wondering what is happening. I'm also one of the people. I was accusing you, but I'm also one of the people who normally forgets to put that that thing while assigning. So note if editable is false and I say editable, if is editable is false and I say editable not editable, it means that this will have true. Okay, this is just used to do to just bring a negating your variable. So we have other operators, the relationship or the relation operators. These are the same like in other programming languages. So we have greater than, less than, we have equal, less or equal to, we have greater or equal to. Yes, we have, we've used this. Who can tell us what was that? Not equal to, and then we also have in. We also have in. So I know these ones, you know how to use them. There are some cases whereby you may have a function whereby you say if maybe age is greater than maybe 18, then this person can take a beer, isn't it? You write code that allows you to sell a beer to this to this customer. Okay. So this is you will find scenarios where you will need those. Now in is used when you when you have a list of items. For example, I can say if number 2 in 4, 5, 6, okay, then message number 2 is in the list, else message number 2 is not there. If I save this, it has saved. So here I'm saying if 2 in this, which expression do I expect to be executed? Yes, the second one. Let me just run the. You're going to see that. I don't know why I need to first close this. Somebody is asking me if I don't terminate. Did I miss a termination somewhere? Where? Here. 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 Eh? Now, the system now looks at this as a single statement. Yeah, it looks at it as something like that. Okay. It looks at it as a single statement. So that's why if I try to terminate here, are you seeing that error? So now looks at this as a single statement. So that's why I didn't terminate here. But due to, indenting is also a good programming practice. Yeah? Indenting won't refuse your code from running. but to make your code more readable. So that's why I indented it and I made it more readable, so that if another program is reviewing my code, they can easily read it. So that's why I did this. But in other words, this is like a simple statement. But we shall also look at the if clause later on. If I need multiple statements here, I can put this. In our programming, you put brackets, but here I can put a begin and an end. Then here I can put more statements, okay? But if I have one statement, I don't need to enclose it in a begin and an end. So that is the reason why I didn't terminate here, because this is looked at as a single statement. So if I run this, two is not there. Let me just remove some messages here so that I don't click OK. So if I put here a 2, it will display this, isn't it? If I put here a 1 for 3, what do I expect? It is there. Are you sure? How come I can't see it? Okay, let us see. So we are saying 2 is the what? Then so you may be asking yourself, why this looks to be something not important, but as you write code, you find that this in is there are cases where you want to do that. Let me see whether I can trace something. Is it sales post? Sales post or purchase post? This is standard code. If I do F and I search for in, okay, match case. Oh, okay, but there are some, you will find there are some cases whereby somebody maybe is trying to post a sales order and they're trying to do whether the document type is in maybe a given range. But we shall look at that later on. But for now, what you should know, this is an important expression that normally checks whether a given value, this can be a variable, it can be anything, is in a given list. We have logical operators. Logical operators. Who can give us an example? Or. We have or, and we have. Those are the only ones. They are about 4. Or. X or. They are about 4. Okay, we also have not, yeah? We've already looked at not. So, or what does it? There are cases whereby you may need if age is greater than 18 and age is less than 21, then you perform your what? Your task there. So here I'm using and. So there's no where you need to use these operators. So or, what happens on or? Or returns true when both of them are, is it when both or when either? Either one of the conditions is true. So meaning that basing on the programming challenge you have, I will leave you to come up with such challenges where you use these logical operators. So that is also part of your assignment. And then and returns true when both of the conditions are true, isn't it? Now, this one is what normally confuses people. Exclusive or. Yes, this returns true when both are true or both are false. So there are scenarios here. I may not come up with scenarios, but as you gather requirements from end users, you find yourself where in circumstances where you need to use these scenarios. Okay, so those are the logical operators. Here we can add string variables. The same way we can add integers, we can also add string variables. I gave you an example. I can have my first name, Emmanuel, and my last name, Agova, okay? So if I need full names, I will do first name plus last name. So that's how you can also add what? String, but I've not declared these variables. So it will give me what? Errors. But if I declare, so this is you can add different strings. We have some important string functions like the maximum, the max string length. Okay, this returns an integer. So which variable was the other one? It was text string. Okay, so this will return an integer. So I can come here to my cal globals and I declare an integer number of cars. So if I don't put a data type, it will default to what? To integer. So if I come here and I say that the number of characters are that, and I then message, I will format this number of cars. Let me just delete this to make this cleaner. So I've missed a bracket here. So if I save, it has saved. If I come back and I run this, the function will return, who can guess how many? It is returning 10, okay? It is returning 10, why? Because here, in my cal globals, I declared my length to be 10. So another important string variable is the copy. So we know the text string takes up to 10 characters, okay? So I can do something like this. I'm copying string, and I'm saying this is a very long string. So this is more than 10, but I want to copy from the first record up to, remember this variable takes how many characters? 10. So I can dynamically get the 10 from here. So I can, remember I've already obtained this, so I can say number of, isn't it? Then here I can message my text string, okay? Are you seeing that? So this won't return the other runtime error we had, isn't it? Although we are assigning a text string with this, but we have this copy string function, that is getting from the first character and getting the number of characters which this variable can hold. So how is this useful? You may be given data to import by a client, but realize that in enough, a given field allows up to 50 words, 50 characters. So you can write code in this format so that you only get 50 characters in that table, and then you can push the extra string to another field. Yes, the one means the first character that I'm starting from this one up to the number of characters. So if I save this and I run it, you see, it's not bringing the runtime error, but it is getting for me only the first 10 characters. So I want you to do, I think on the next PDF, that is PDF 5. There is a demo on page 17. I want you to try that out, and then you will share with me the objects. And then other things that we can look at is that if I have something like 6 plus 4, then times 3, what will be the answer here? Yes? Somebody here is telling me that it will use body mass. Okay, meaning that multiplication takes precedence. So it will first multiply and then it will add. I don't know. Let me try it out and we see. So if I message format this, so meaning that if it is using body mass, what do we expect? 18. We expect 18. I will just get rid of this so that I have only this. So if I run this, are you sure it will be 18? It's showing me 18. So the multiplication takes precedence. But there are scenarios whereby you may have something very complicated, okay? Divided by 2 and something. So in such scenarios, it is better to put what you want to be computed first in what? In brackets. So that will ensure that the system will compute what is in brackets. I think even our body mass has brackets, if I remember very well, brackets of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So in such cases, it is better to put that in brackets. So this will take me to, I want you to try out demo. There's a demo on page 26 and also a demo on page 28. So you try out those. Then finally, you will try out lab. You try out lab 5. It is in chapter 5, lab 5.1. And in case we have another lab, we shall also try out that other lab. So let us go to our materials. This is demo 4. And we try to test. Make sure I don't open the answers. I know you have the PDFs, but let us not look at the answers. What is the programming language of C-side code? Is it PHP? It is called CAL, C/AL. List several uses of programming. That one I will leave. Where can you find programming language statements? In Carl code, isn't it? Somebody may say, no, we know. Which feature of object designer do you use to define or change code in an object? Action designer, action editor, code designer, code editor, or Carl editor? Carl editor. Okay, we shall see. Name the 3 types of triggers in Carl. Types. We have documentation triggers, isn't it? You define your documentation. We have on event. Okay, on run, that is an on event trigger, or it is a different trigger. Document triggers, event triggers, and function triggers. Yes. Now the on run is an event trigger. The on validate is an event trigger. The on modify is an event trigger. So the types of triggers we had: documentation trigger, event triggers, and function triggers. Function triggers, you call them, you define them, and you also call them. We have on run, on modify. Oh, those are on event triggers. On modify, on. Yes, those are the triggers that we looked at first on the tables. In Carl, you're not on the code unit. In Carl, what data type do you use to store employee's birthday? Now, if you fail this one, date, we use date. Okay. What data type do you use to store an employee's name? Code? Text? Let us speak when we are very sure. If it's, when you say text, as if you're not sure, what data type do you use to store an employee's name? That should be text, isn't it? What data type do you use to store employee's salary? Decimal, because you can have point something, isn't it? You're getting $1,000.25. What data type do you use to record whether an employee is tax exempt? That is Boolean, isn't it? Because it is either true or. Which complex data type corresponds to a row in a record? Yeah, what am I? Okay, which data type corresponds to a row in a table? Yes? What is that data type? I even mentioned the answer. Oh my God. You must specify length of a variable of a text data type. Is it true or false? That's it. Text, I can leave it. Although I can, yes, I can. If I go to view Carl globals, I can specify the length, yeah? But I can also leave it as blank. Now, once you read through the documentation, you will know if I leave it as blank, how many characters can it store? So you can specify the length, or you can leave it blank. So they are saying you must specify. You must. Is it a must? So it is false. Yeah. Which complex data type provides operating system files? I think it is the in-stream. We don't have the. I think we have the in-stream and out-stream. But you read the documentation and you see this. But I expect this to be in-stream. We shall see the answers. Did we get this? Carl, the functions to design custom functions, read what? Where do you can? Did we get this? Did we get this? Documentation event. Did we get this? Date, Did we get text? Yes. Then did we get decimal? Yes. Boolean. This one I gave you the answer in the question. Then this is false. Then the last one is, oh, it was file, not in stream. Okay, but once you read this is only 24 pages, so I expect you to read it in an hour or less, because we've gone through almost everything, isn't it? We've gone through almost everything, chap. So you will read that, and there are some demos I want you to try out. Then after reading that, we also have another PDF. That is 5. Let us try out the module reviews. What is the expression? What is the expression in this assignment statement? What is this code? What is the expression? What is they want us to be assigning? Oh no, we shall see the answers. In mathematics, the things that operators operate on a code, what are these things in programming expression? We call those terms. If you remember very well, I call them terms. What does the plus do to the text variables or constant? It concatenates, it joins strings, or it concatenates. What is the expression in this assignment statement? What is the expression? I'm concatenating this. What are the operators? What are the operators in this? What are the operators? Is it this plus? What are the terms? This and this. What about this? Okay. Write down the result. So here you will, can you write them down? What is 5 times? This is what? Then this. Oh no, you will, I know you can do that. Then here they are telling us, these ones you can try down, you can first think of them and then you try them out in code to see whether the answers you are getting are correct. I know you can come up with this in CalCode, isn't it? So you try out this and you see the answers. What is the expression? So these are terms. It is the plus operator. The and this where. What are the operators? We only talked about plus. This is also an operator. Okay, so read through. There are 2 PDFs. Read through, try out those demos I've given you. Share with me the objects before you go to bed, so that I can also review them. And then tomorrow, we shall now look at. Tomorrow we shall be looking at number 6. That is Carl statements. So tomorrow we have to go through this, and then we shall see. I know we've tackled this somehow, so it won't be that difficult. After this, we shall look at functions, we shall look at reports, we shall look at queries. Yeah, we really have a lot to cover, and we need to cover this. Then next week we shall now dig into the advanced modules, whereby we shall be designing a full-fledged function area. We shall have our student model fully fledged with all the the options with all the different areas that somebody can work with. So unless there are any questions, I would like to stop here for today. Tomorrow we shall meet at 8 sharp, and even other days. Today I just had something small that delayed me, but I think I've also managed to deliver what I'd prepared for you. So see you tomorrow. And as I told you, the best teacher is yourself. So try out these examples. Some may appear to be very irrelevant, but once you try out them, that's when you will see that the values you get after messaging are not the values that you thought in your head. So try them out. As we, at the end of this training, I'll give you a very complex exercise whereby we shall have all these things applied. So that's it for today. I don't know whether people on the other side have questions, but in case you don't have, yes, Mohammed?
No questions.
No questions. All right, let us build our student app. We add those fields that we've mentioned. We also try the demos, and then we shall meet tomorrow. So have a nice afternoon and see you tomorrow.
Thank you.